While the basketball team was taking care of business on the court, the football coaches, they were doing their best to take care of business in the recruiting front stuff.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Bama Online's Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I want to thank FanDuel for being a sponsor. I want to thank you every day for being here every day, and all you newbies for being here today. Jimmy, in my head, that cold open was going to be a much better transition and sound better. And then when I got to the very end,
it answered the question for anyone: is this scripted?
When I got to the end, I just tripped on a preposition, and there is nothing. If you trip on a big word, I think people forgive you. If you trip on a preposition, it really just, the whole thing just snowballs on you. But it doesn't matter, because what I was trying to say still holds true. I think the coaches did a marvelous job this weekend with recruiting. As I've read the reports of a lot of guys that have been there, you probably know a little more than I. You know, the Arringtons, the Crowells, or Crowells, or whatever. They seem, Tristan Keys, all these guys really seem to like their visit to Alabama.
Yeah, you know, what I want to stress is we've had junior days in the past. I had junior days under Saban and junior days, you know, last year under DeBoer, although they were hastily put together. He just, you know, landed here in like January. But this junior day, you know, it's not really a junior day. Junior day, the idea is that you're inviting all these juniors, you're meeting them, you're evaluating them. You got, you know, a bunch of guys there, many of whom you'll never even actually offer. They're still in the evaluation period. This is different. This feels more like, for those of you who follow recruiting very closely, this weekend was more like the Champions Cookout weekend that they have in the summertime, where it's invitation only. It's the guys that they feel they're on their way with in terms of, this is going to be our class. You can watch that every summer. Our hit and miss ratio on Champions Cookout is something like 80 or 90%. Now, it's not going to be 80 or 90% success from this junior day, because it's too far out. It's too early. These guys are just now formulating their favorites. But point being, this is the group that, if it was a signing day, this is the ones they would want. Now, there'd be a handful of others that didn't make it or couldn't make it, and you got to fill out your class. But this is the core of the group they would want as of today, though evaluations will continue, particularly with evaluations this summer and June camps.
All right, so let's talk about some of the guys that were on campus that are big deals. EJ, Crowell or Crowell? How are we saying that?
Crowell, I believe, until I'm told differently again.
Well, it's so weird that such a regular – it's not like there's 3 Qs, a couple of commas, and an apostrophe in there. It's just like Crowell or Crowell. I mean, I've heard it both. I don't know.
Like Terrells or Terrell spelled the same.
Oh, that's good.
Which way you're going to go on that, you know?
Oh, that's good. That's true. So, all right. Let's start with him, because he's reclassified. He probably is most people's number one back on the board. There's Derek Cooper down in Miami, who's very good. There's some other dudes that are certainly in this class that are very good. And maybe you dock EJ a point or two just because, okay, he's not going to be as physically mature as these guys just based on age alone. Maybe. I still would consider him to be the number one back in the class for right now, just because he's so doggone special. Just like Ryan Williams, I mean, it sort of stinks that Jeremiah Smith was in his class. Otherwise, I think he's the number one receiver in his class, whatever class it was. But because it is a Ryan Williams podcast. How did his visit go, EJ, is that being? And also, how did Ryan Williams' visit go? I always like to keep up with him.
This was going to be an EJ Crowell podcast, and then he reclassified and sort of ruined it, because we were going to build some 2-year momentum on that. But
you blew it, boy.
Crowell, I mean, I'm going to go back. It was one of the things I'm looking forward to doing. I haven't had the time yet because there's only so many hours in the day. But one of the things I'm going to research is, as long as I've been following recruiting, and that goes all the way back to like late 80s, roughly 1990, I think Crowell is going to be on a very short list of the best backs in state history in terms of how good he is as a prospect. There's others like Carnell Williams immediately comes to mind. He might be number one, to be honest. Kerryon Johnson was a 5-star type, had a big time career at Auburn too. But there's other Alabama in-state backs that have been great. But I'm talking about where they were ranked as recruits. Now, with Crowell, we got to get a little further in the process because he reclassified. His rankings are a little off right now because he was ranked in the 27 class, like the number one back in the country. But when you move him into a whole nother class, all 4 services have to tackle that, before he's seriously ranked again. But it's going to be close to number one. He's a huge priority. This is what we think at BOL. I think Andrew Bone talked about this the other day at BOL. We think the competition for Alabama is actually not Auburn so much as it is Texas. That's who we're going to, quote, have to beat. But Alabama's a favorite here. Interestingly, Texas's running back coach, who's been recruiting EJ, is potentially going to be hired by the Dallas Cowboys. So that would be helpful. But I like Alabama.
What's his name? Because he played at Georgia Tech. Is something
Ashard Choice.
Ashard Choice. I was thinking it was something like Johnny Favor. I don't know why, but I was like, it's some kind of easy word at the end. That's close.
But no, if we're projecting today, and we're not, and this isn't an RPM or anything like that, but if we're projecting today, I think Crowell to Alabama is what I would project today. But long way to go. Big time dude. He's going to officially visit this summer. No timetable whatsoever do we have on a commitment date for him.
All right, then there's Brandon Arrington, the number one athlete for the class in 2026 out of California. I thought he had some of the stronger words of anybody. Look, this is from your boys over there at On 3. He said, that's the best experience and visit I've been to. Just everything. The bond I have with the players, all the cornerbacks at Bama are from California. We act the same. We talk the same. Everything is the same. It's going to be a trend with California DBs there, is what he said.
That's amazing, isn't it? I mean, just totally amazing. And how's this also amazing? Brandon Arrington is a whole lot like Jalen Milroe when he came out of high school in terms of he is a 5-star cornerback prospect. He's a 5-star receiver prospect. He's choosing to play corner. And nothing, gets to me more than, why don't we just play him at wide receiver? These kids pick. Welcome to the age of the transfer portal. These kids pick where they want to play. And Bakwe is a perfect example. He wanted to play corner. He did. Then he wanted to move to receiver. He did. Because they didn't want to lose him in the portal. So these kids play the positions they want to play. Brandon Arrington wants to play corner. That's what he wants to do for now. And he's a 5-star prospect on either side of the ball. But, man, just amazing what Courtney Morgan, and we give him a lot of credit here, what he's doing in California. And now building this DB pipeline of not just California DBs, Luke, badass California DBs. These dudes are the best ones out there. We just signed Dijon Lee and Chuck McDonald. Brandon Arrington is every bit the prospect those two are, which is saying a lot, especially when it comes to Dijon. But, Arrington's a badass. He's a 5-star plus type prospect.
Time to talk a little FanDuel because the big game is right around the corner. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, 2 teams, endless possibilities. They keep saying that, and I think it's just one possibility, like in terms of the game winner. And then there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. That's where it's endless, that you can do anything with FanDuel you want to do. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on action with live betting all game long. You can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing you can place a $5 bet and potentially win 200 bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's icing on the cake, bruh. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Just bet $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets at FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 59.
hate that there's just one football game left. There's just one.
Then
there's not a football game that matters again. And I know this game doesn't matter. It just matters to me. But the NFL Hall of Fame game, which is, to me, kicks off the new year of football. That's why I make a big deal. That's the new year of football kicking off. And by the way, that game this year is probably going to be on July 31st, which is fun because now we don't have to wait all the way until August for.
And we don't know who it is yet, right? The NFL does a great job of just making us like they'll do the draft in April, the schedule released either in March or May or whatever. I mean, they just.
Yeah, we don't know who's in it, but sometimes you can guess by looking at the Hall of Fame class. They try to tie it into, okay, who are, is there 2 or 3 guys from one organization going into the Hall of Fame? So they try to tie it to the Hall of Fame induction guys, or at least one of the teams, and then they try not to have the same teams all the time, so because it is an extra, if you think about it, it's an extra preseason game. It doesn't count against your allotted number of 3. It's an extra one, so somewhat advantageous. So they like spreading it around too. But yeah, next Sunday, Chiefs Eagles, last football that matters until the Hall of Fame game, which will be roughly July 31st, which is roughly also the first day of fall camp for Alabama.
All right, so one more guy I want to talk about. I'd love to talk to him, but I want to talk about is Tristan Keys. Yes. He came in, wide receiver. Love this guy. I know that Cedarian Morgan was there too. I guess we can talk about 2 guys. Wasn't Cedarian Morgan there too? And I know the staff visited him, like the entire staff, like the kitchen staff, everybody.
The kitchen staff. The whole offensive staff minus Brian Ellis. So, yeah, but it was something unusual. That's not something Alabama has normally done, either under Saban or under DeBoer. The whole staff visit. They went to see C.D. Morgan at Benjamin Russell on Friday, and then CD came to Alabama Saturday along with Tristan Keys. I believe, Luke, they were the only 2 wide receivers there. If the 2 of them signed with Alabama, they would represent the best single class of wide receivers in the history. I mean, these are 2 5-star that I would put 5-star exclamation points behind both CD Morgan and Tristan Keys. They're both fantastic top-of-the-line guys. They'll be hard to sign. The good news is they both like Alabama a lot. It is highly realistic that Alabama land one or both, but it's also the age of NIL, and these guys will command or be offered quite a bit of cash money, everyone.
And prizes, assorted prizes. Cash money and assorted prices. That's the new thing. It's just like this big game show.
Free coffee for life. Isn't that what Kramer was offered?
Yeah. Like, we're prepared to give you free coffee at every one of our stores. And he goes, I'll take it.
Before they got to, I think they were going to offer him something like $150,000.
You know what? I do miss. I'm going to go off on a rail here for just a second. I do miss Seinfeld right now because I think they would have South Park may do it, but they would have definitely tackled this woman in Detroit who's like a female rapper nobody had heard of 10 minutes ago, and now she's suing Lyft because the Lyft driver was like, "Look, I can't fit you in my car." And again, it's if you see the video, it's like he's got a point. I mean, nobody's making fun of you, but I mean, there's physics involved. And now she's suing Lyft. And I think either Curb Your Enthusiasm, Seinfeld, or South Park would take this thing on pretty well. And I'm looking forward to see the outcome.
I saw a list just yesterday, greatest TV shows of all time. And they went to a lot of trouble to put it together. And Seinfeld was like 30. And I'm like, this invalidates. That just invalidates the whole list.
It does. It's so stupid that people want to be different like that. Yeah. So anyway, all right. Speaking of people who are quite different, Jalen Milroe is different from everybody because he's better looking than you. He's more built than you. He's stronger than you. Oh, yeah. But sometimes you're more accurate than he is, and I don't even know who you are. Also that's the truth. All those things are true at the same time. And I didn't get to see the Senior Bowl because I went to the Bama Georgia game, and I'll talk about that in the third segment. But Jimmy, I'm sure you saw it. I mean, I did not hear glowing reports. And again, it's not about the game itself that really defines what people think of him. It's the practice. But there weren't a lot of glowing reports during practice either. It was the same kind of thing I just said. He looks like $1 million. but his throws, we don't know where they're going sometimes.
Yeah, he didn't help himself this week. I mean, that's fair. I think he had a real bad day Tuesday, better on Wednesday, pretty good on Thursday, and then Saturday was more like Tuesday for him. Didn't go well. A difficult situation where you only get a handful of snaps in the game, and you don't have a chance to build any sort of rapport with your team, and so it's a tough thing. Very, very few quarterbacks over the years have looked great in the Senior Bowl. Very few. And the MVP was a wide receiver and not one of the quarterbacks. But, tough week for Milroe. I do believe he got dinged a little bit, I think, in the draft. I mean, I'm to the point myself where I think we can just rule out the first round. But I think most people were anyway. I've said round 2. I'm dinging him myself from what I came in going, he's round 2. Now I'm just kind of saying day 2, which is rounds 2 and 3. Day 2 is now where I think Jalen will go because someone's going to take a chance on the traits. But look, more so than any quarterback out there, Luke, Jalen is in desperate need of whoever drafts him to not put him on the field. He needs to be drafted by someone that can help. And I'll tell you an ideal situation for him. I don't know what Pittsburgh's plans are, but if Pittsburgh's plan is let's not re-sign Justin Fields, he's a free agent. Let's bring Russ back for like 2 years. That would be ideal. I think Jalen behind a Russell Wilson learn how to be an NFL quarterback from a guy like Russ. That would be fantastic for him. So he needs a situation like that. If he's drafted by a bad team, like the New York Giants, and they're like, hey, we got to put you out there, it's a disaster not only for the Giants, but for Jalen too. He needs to sit. And for those that think that that's some sort of an insulting thing, I'll remind everyone out there that the 2 greatest NFL quarterbacks of all time now, particularly after next Sunday, we might be saying, the 2 best ever are probably Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. They both sat. They didn't play as rookies either. And they sat, and they would probably both tell you it was the best thing for them.
Aaron Rodgers sat.
Aaron sat. Steve Young sat.
And again, we are such a now society that if you don't come in and just kick butt as a 5-star recruit or a transfer or a first-round pick or second, third, fourth, fifth-round pick, then people think, what a bust. Yeah. And look at Bryce Young. Bryce Young really came on end of last year. He needed a little bit of time. It's not all situations are uniform. It is sometimes you just don't have the weapons to throw to. Sometimes there's an adjustment. Sometimes you're on a terrible team that's in a not so bad division and you're getting pummeled every week because you don't have an offensive line.
The speed of the game changes dramatically. It changes dramatically from high school to college, and then it changes again dramatically from college to the NFL. The speed of the game, meaning your decisions, your release, where you're going with the ball, then the windows get tighter in the NFL too. Everything has to move so fast, yet you have to remain calm. It's not a good recipe even for Milroe. That's why he's got to sit. He's going to have to work this out on the practice field over time because the game just moves too fast. And that's virtually for everyone. Jalen Hurts sat too. People won't remember that. I think he was an overnight sensation. Remember Jalen came in and backed up Carson Wentz until it was pretty obvious that Hurts needed to be the quarterback and not Wentz. But, Hurts wasn't a day 1, game 1 starter either. So he just needs some time and needs to be drafted by a place that's going to say, hey, sit behind this veteran. And then you need a veteran who's going to literally take the time to, hey, we think this kid can be something, but you're going to have to work with him.
It's such a trickle-down effect because owners get impatient with coaches and GMs, and so the GM may put the pressure on the coach to say, hey, you got to play this number 1 guy. When the coach is like, he's not ready. Well, we got to play him or we both get fired. Okay, so you put him in there and then he's not ready. So then the fans want to get that guy out of there. All of a sudden, what you've done is created where the GM, the coach, and the quarterback, their careers could be ruined because of an impatient owner to start with. I mean, it's kind of wild how it all works.
Players play when they're ready.
So let's talk a little hoops now. Big win for Bama yesterday. First of all, kudos to the crowd. I was there. I got to see them. And I'll tell you something. I bought tickets through Game Time to sit on the floor, right? And a good price for floor seats, honestly. And what was weird, the entire game, because people had a good view of where I was sitting, I was like, if you knew that was me, you would be watching me occasionally. And what you'd be watching is making sure I don't do my arms like this because I complain about it all the time. And sometimes it's just comfortable to sit like this. And when you're a big dude like me and you got broad shoulders, like the people next to you, I can't just leave my arms out here or else I'll be hitting them the whole time. So I do this, but I kept doing this and undoing this the whole game. I kept crossing and uncrossing my legs because I was very conscious.
Like, oh my gosh, I'm on TV. Oh my gosh, I'm on TV.
I don't want to be a leg crosser, arm crosser. And I made a point to stand up and clap more when we did something good on our end. I was like trying to get, and I think even the front row got into it a little more. Now, the rest of the crowd was great, and the front row was fine. I mean, they were fine. They weren't bad. But the rest of the crowd seemed to be really into it for the most part, but they especially got into it. And I don't know what it is. Maybe this is fandom wide. But at Alabama, when the coaches get, the other coaches get texts, we lose our minds. It was like Mardi Gras when Mike White got that technical foul, and he deserved every bit of it. And I understand why he got it too. I understand why he went after the ref. I understand both of them, because what happened, they called a foul on Georgia on what could have been called a jump ball, I guess, but I probably would have called it a foul. And then there was a foul on a jump ball where Mark Sears, I didn't think Mark Sears did foul. I think he just put his arms in there and got the ball. And Mike White was like, same thing, slap back, no trade backs. Why am my guy getting a foul and their guy? And I get it, but I don't think he had a great view of it. So, but man, I really just again, Mark Sears back in Mark Sears form. I say it every podcast. He just ends up with 20 points. Now, unless he ends up with 0, which he's done twice this year, but he has 20 points. He didn't score like the first 15 minutes of the game or something bananas. We went on a stretch from like the 12-minute mark in the first half to about the 5 or 6 minute mark in the first half where we didn't score at all. We had a 11-point lead, and they just kept chipping away at it, and then they never took the lead, but they couldn't score either. So kudos to the defense for hanging in there. Aiden Sherrill, dude, kudos to you.
He's going to be better than Cliff Amore eventually.
Eventually. And let's hope it's here. Let's hope it's here. Yeah. But he took 2 threes, and you could tell Georgia had a game plan like, we can kind of let Aiden Sherrill shoot threes. And he nailed them both. I mean, these weren't like banks or, hit the rim and bounce around and get lucky. These were splashes. Mo Diabate, I give up. I don't know what else to say awesome about this guy. He's unbelievable. He is just a fantastic player that wants to get after your butt. I'm talking to you right now. Mo Diabate may be behind you right now, ready to rebound something that you drop.
It won't be tough. I'm 5'8". It won't be tough for him.
Slams it right over Jimmy.
He's gonna posterize me. Although what the most overpriced poster of all time would be that. But
he didn't even have to be swinging. You know how their legs need to be kicked out so it looks like they're dunking over somebody. His legs can just be dangling like they normally are, like just over you.
It'd be like patting me on the head with one hand as he's dunking with the other. Diabate has won another hard hat. I don't want to shock people to hear that, but I think it's his 8th or 9th of the year. And the only surprise there is there's not more. He's so fun to watch because he wants to. You watch him play, and you can feel how bad he wants to win the game. That he plays to win the game and does everything the team needs to win. And the scoring, the sexy part, that can be for others. Although Diabate does, he works so hard. Some of those points just come because he's working so hard on the glass. But, real happy for him. I thought Youngblood was good again. I think we're getting a better and better Youngblood all the time. Marcus back. This is a good team, and they need to be because now we get the bye. This is our bye, midweek bye, so no game until next Saturday. And then it really starts. The last 9 games, and it's just brutal. 8 quad 1 games in the last 9. The only quad 2, the easy game is the home game against Mississippi State, who we know is good. I would like to point this out. This is kind of funny.
Are they quad 2 now?
They'll be quad 2 because it's any home game for it to be quad 1. It's got to be a top 25, and I think they're down to 30 in the net. But how about this, where we might have been right? And of course, me and Luke were saying back early in the season about how deep the league was. We're like, by the time we play Arkansas, they'll be good. And then we had to walk that back about a week ago. We shouldn't have walked it back.
No, we should have kept it.
Yeah, Arkansas upsetting Kentucky's my favorite result.
At Kentucky.
I was the only guy in the world outside of his family that was kind of rooting for Cal last night because I knew he was going to just get it from the fans there. My favorite non-Alabama result of the season was Arkansas upsetting Kentucky last night in Rupp. That was a lot of fun. And that trade, I didn't know about the trade till I woke up. I kind of slept in on Sunday, and that trade, the Luka Anthony Davis trade,
for Anthony Davis.
I'm still trying to wow, they made the NBA interesting overnight.
Well, and they also made a trade to me. Again, I'm a sort of a almost barely casual NBA fan, but I was like, oh, what a trade. This makes sense for nobody. So this works out great. This is just like a regular NBA trade. I didn't see how this works for anybody. But let me tell you a stat that is going to boggle your mind. Mohamed Diabate, I did not know this until right now. He played 11 minutes yesterday. Dare I say it was the greatest 11 minutes in sports history. I don't think that's a stretch. He won the hard hat and only played 11 minutes. He played 11. Jimmy, now I knew he got into some foul trouble.
I'd have guessed literally twice that much. I'd have said, I don't know, 22, 23 minutes.
I'm looking at, he had 3 fouls. I remember when he got his 3rd foul, and the people I was sitting with were like, man, Diabate's got 3. And I was like, he's not going to foul out. I was like, he's too smart. And it seems like he played the entire game. I felt like Mo Diabate was sitting next to me, that I bought my Coke from him, that he took my ticket.
You were on the floor. He in many ways, he was next to you.
But 11 minutes, it's the ultimate compliment I can give somebody, that I thought you deserved player of the game. And I, honest to God, am not saying this in a charitable way. Like sometimes we've said player of the game goes to a guy who came in and played for 4 minutes because those 4 minutes were great and they were a crucial part of the game. I thought Mo Diabate played the whole game, except for the not starting. And look, by the way, I see people posting, hey, it's about time we start Mo Diabate. Please don't do anything to affect Mo Diabate's aura.
Don't do anything different. Whatever you've been doing, do that.
Do exactly that.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think a lot of that's because the fans are more frustrated with Jaron Stevenson than Nate Oates is. And I think it's because Jaron does a lot of things that help the team win the game other than scoring. And obviously scoring's been an issue with him. But I think a lot of it is fans are just trying to find anybody to start in Jaron's place, but and for Jaron to play less. But he's a talented kid. I won't be surprised if he sticks at Alabama, and I hope that he does. One day, Jaron Stevenson might be the best player on our team. One day.
He's going to break out. And look, yesterday he was 2 of 2 from the field, 2 of 2 from beyond the arc, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, a block, a steal, a turnover, and 3 fouls. And let me see how many minutes. I didn't even look at that. It's probably something like 22 minutes. 19 minutes. Grant Nelson, interesting game. I thought he played pretty well. Let me tell you what he did. He jawed with Asa Newell a lot. Now, maybe this came through on TV. I can tell you it came through on the floor pretty well, that those two were sort of jawing. Now, Asa Newell he's a thing. Asa Newell is a problem. That guy could back down any one of our guys and use right or left hand. And he has great touch and he has just great court awareness. But I thought we did a pretty good job on him. And can you imagine? I told somebody as we were walking out, I'm like, we finished runner-up for his recruitment. I mean, this team with Asa Newell on it, but the problem is, well, who doesn't play then? Now, we can find somebody to not play. But, see, I'm really happy with the way things are. So I guess it worked out.
Yeah. Oh, I don't look at our roster in any way like it's deficient. The roster's not deficient, even though we're only playing with 10 because 3 guys are out between Houston's red shirt and Trelly's red shirt. And, of course, Nas Cunningham, we've been redshirting him from day one. So only got 10 guys. I don't want to trade any of them. I want to go to war with these 10 dudes. And they all make contributions, especially now with Aiden Sherrill playing a bigger role, because he's kind of the 10th guy. But he's been playing a bigger role. And these are the 10 I want to go to war with, and I'm excited. But boy, this second half of the season is going to be something. Shout out to Alabama for going 8-1 in the SEC, and how Auburn's gone 9-0 in this league.
I don't want anybody to. First of all, Aiden Jarrell played 20 minutes yesterday. I didn't think he played 20. I thought he played fewer, maybe because I'm just used to it. But
Diabate played more. But
yeah, okay. So going to your Auburn take, I'm not saying anything negative towards Auburn at all. They deserve to be number one team, no doubt about it. I will say this, that they did get a break with the SEC scheduling. Now, their non-con was as good as ours, and I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm not docking them any points for any reason. But I do look at their SEC schedule and think, okay, y'all caught a bit of a break there. You know, Kentucky only once. I think Texas A&M only once. Maybe Mississippi State only once. I don't think they go to Mississippi State. I can't remember. But they caught a bit of a break there. And they end, the season playing Alabama at home, right? Now, the one thing, excuse me, gosh, I really that's why I'm mute. I didn't mean to clear my throat and destroy your stereos right there. Y'all still have stereos? Or your computer or whatever.
I thought people listened to this on their 8-track.
But Auburn does end up with 2 road games. One of them, I think, it may be Kentucky and A&M, and then Bama at home. It's something like that. Okay, and I'm like, that's a tough back end of the schedule. But go ahead and tell you right now, Alabama fans, I ain't expecting to win in Neville Arena on the last game of the year, no matter what. That place is going to be raucous. So that's why winning at Coleman against Auburn is so crucial. If we want to win the league, we got to win that game.
Yeah, we got to win the home game against Auburn, because winning over there is going to be really tough. That's like it's like when the Germans played the Russians on the road in World War II. Didn't go well. That's what that's going to be like.
Yeah, Napoleon couldn't take his team on the road either. Yeah, Napoleon was just not good on the road. He was fine. I mean, I guess at home, I don't know. So, he always seemed to come up short, Napoleon. Right. That's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.